Welcome to Live Well, Dream Big. I'm Suzanne Monroe, founder of the International Association of Wellness Professionals, where I've been teaching people how to live a life of wellness, tap into their passion, and go for their dreams for over 15 years. I believe living well and dreaming big starts with ourselves. This podcast will show you how to create a healthy, holistic life, empower your mindset, follow your dreams, and make a big impact. Let's dive in right now. Welcome back to Live Well, Dream Big. I'm your host, Suzanne Monroe, and today it's time for another soul session. Woohoo, soul sessions, super fun, short little episodes where it's time to get grounded, get centered, get focused. And I really love sharing with you something that's happening for me, that's going on in my life right now, something that's really kind of on the soul level that will hopefully speak to you as well. So right now, this week, I'm really thinking a lot about stories, specifically the stories we tell ourselves. Well, first of all, stories are really powerful, right? We all know that if we hear an inspiring story, it can fill us with emotions, it can motivate us, it can be meaningful, it can be impactful. And yet, oftentimes we're carrying around stories or like old stories that are impacting our lives also in a powerful way, but maybe not for the highest good, maybe not in the way we really want them to. The thing about stories that we tell ourselves is that oftentimes they're kind of in our unconscious thinking or in our subconscious. We don't actually think about them, day to day. They're kind of there in the background. We may not realize that they're there. They can really weigh us down though, and they can really limit us. So I think it's super important to think about what the stories are that you might be telling yourself, because they really do form your beliefs, and then those beliefs impact the actions that you end up taking in this world. A couple examples of stories you might be telling yourself. It might be things like, I'm not good at relationships, or, finding my purpose in life is a pipe dream, or I have to be the responsible one, right? These are just random examples of stories common stories really that people often tell themselves. A story I used to carry around was, you have to work hard to make money, right? Because that was my upbringing, that you go off to work, you get a good job, and you just stay in that good job, and you work hard and you make money, and that's success. Well, that story, the way it impacted me was that I thought I had to always work really, really hard. And it also meant that I wasn't able to go out and do something that was fun. I wasn't able to find my passion and purpose in life. I had to do something that wasn't fun. So I stayed stuck in a career for years that I wasn't happy with, and I felt really trapped. And it all came back to this one story, that you have to work hard to make money. When I was able to look at that particular story, I could see where that came from in my upbringing and how that affected my beliefs. But I didn't have to keep carrying that story. When I saw where it came from, what its roots were, I could change that story so that I could live a different future. Because oftentimes we're kind of living in the past based off of our stories. And the thing is, stories end up impacting the choices we make today, in the present, and the future, but they're often made in the past, right? So we have to take time to change them so that new stories can get their roots and create a new foundation. And when we have these new stories, we do things differently. We start operating from a new place. There's a saying that goes, nothing changes if nothing changes. Right? So nothing changes if nothing changes. If you're not completely happy with your life, if you're not on the path to living a soulful-filled, purposeful life, it may be because you haven't changed anything yet. So you really have to be the leader of that change. And I believe it can really start with looking at your stories and starting to change the stories. So let's do an alignment check for today's soul session. What stories are you telling yourself? Take some time to journal this out. You might have to go back in time, right? And really think about it. Or if you're not sure what your stories are, you can look at certain things in your life now that maybe you're running into obstacles with. Like maybe you're hitting the same roadblock over and over again, right? Maybe it's in relationships. You keep having the same problems, even though you've had different relationships over the years. You can blame it on the other people, or you can see the common thread and say, what is the story here? And then kind of trace it back. And then you want to say, well, are these true stories, right? And then also, what story would I rather have? What story do I wish I had? How can I start living from that new story? What different actions can I start taking now to create a new story for the future. So story, story, story. I said the word 100 times probably just during this short episode. But yes, stories are powerful and it's time to rewrite your story. This has been a fun episode connecting with you for a soul session. I look forward to talking with you again soon. Thank you for joining me for today's episode of Live Well, Dream Big. I hope you enjoyed today's conversation. And I want to invite you to take your next step toward living well and dreaming big by downloading the Live Well, Dream Big lifestyle book. It's the ultimate guide to becoming your best self and living life on your own terms. You can grab your complimentary copy by going to the link in the show notes or heading directly to iawpwellnesscoach.com/guide. That's iawpwellnesscoach.com/guide.